Hello friends, welcome to another video of Hybridacademy and to the next session of Learn Adobe Photoshop for Beginners. In this session, we will learn about how to work with text in Photoshop. Let's review the course agenda for this session. In this, we will learn how to add single line text in Photoshop, how to word wrap your text in Photoshop, manage the line spacing, manage the letter spacing, warp text, make a new text flow path, decorating the text with outline and glow, and applying styles and filters to text. Let's quickly start with our session. Working with Photoshop text. The type tools are what we use when we want to add text to Photoshop document. The type tool comes in 4 different variations and allows users to create both horizontal and vertical type text. Note that whatever we create or type in Photoshop, a new type layer will be added to the layers palette. The 4 different variations of the type tool are as follows. First is the type icon, which is for horizontal type tool. The horizontal type tool is your basic type tool and it allows you to create basic text on a horizontal plane. Vertical type tool icon, which is the vertical type tool. This allows you to create basic text that is written on a vertical plane from top to bottom. Next is the horizontal type mask icon, horizontal type mask tool. This tool creates a selection of the text rather than live text. The selections can be used to create masks and clippings. Similarly, vertical type mask icon or vertical type mask tool. This tool also creates a selection of text rather than live text, and the text will be formatted on a vertical plane. The selections can again be used to create masks or clippings. Now let's review all these 4 variations of type tool in Adobe Photoshop. So on the left toolbar, this is the type tool and the default is horizontal type tool. The shortcut for this is letter T as in Tango. So if you press and hold this, we get all the 4 variations which are available. Let's start with the first one, which is horizontal type tool. So if I click on this, you can see that the mouse icon got changed to a vertical eye, and if I click on the canvas or on my picture, it will insert a default text on the screen, and I can always start typing and change this text as per my requirement. So with the help of this tool, I have inserted the horizontal text into my document. Now the next tool available under this same tool is vertical type tool, and the shortcut for this also is letter T as in Tango. I click on this tool, and now if I try to click on my document, you can see that the text is inserted in a vertical format. Now if I start typing, so this text is written in a vertical format. So you can see using this we can write in vertical format. Let's see the next option. The next variation is the vertical type mask tool. Now before using this, I like to insert an image in my document. So I already have an image. If you can see on the right hand side, layer 2 has an image, and above that I have 2 text layers. Now one thing to notice here is that when we use the horizontal type tool or the vertical type tool, every time a new layer is inserted in the layers palette. So when I started working with the horizontal type tool, a new layer for this was added, and when I again added the vertical type tool, a new layer for this also got added. I'm right now hiding these 2 layers and I'm inserting the image which I selected. Now from the type tool I am selecting the first mask tool, that is the vertical type mask tool, and I am clicking on my document. So you see, as soon as I clicked on that, the color of the document got changed. This is to represent that the text which I am typing is not actually a text but a masking tool. And on the right hand side also just see that no new layer has been inserted. So now if I click on the move tool, you will see that this got converted into a selection and it's not a typed text. Now if I click on the image layer and if I press Ctrl+J from the keyboard, it will create a new layer above the image layer which will only have the part of the image which was selected by the text. So now I'm hiding the image layer to see what actually happened. Just see, whatever was there in the image section got copied to a new layer, and I can use this anywhere in my document. Also notice that this is not the text part, but this is like a regular layer. Now let's try the same with the horizontal layer also. So I'm hiding this vertical mask layer and I'm again making the image layer visible. Now let's select the last tool, which is the horizontal type mask tool. I click on this tool and I click on my document. Now I can again type whatever I want. Once done, I'll click on the select tool, and once the selection is done, I'll again press Ctrl+J. This will insert a new layer on top of the image layer with the part of the image which got selected. So now I'm hiding the image layer to see what actually got selected. Using this masking tool, we can create such creative texts. You can insert any image within this, you can fill any color also. So this is the use of the masking tool. Moving further, let's see how to add a single line text. Adding a single line of text in Photoshop is very simple, and to do this we need to use the text tool. After opening the image or blank page, just select the text tool from the toolbar or press the letter T as a shortcut and click once on the image or blank page. This will result in flashing text cursor on the canvas, and the default Photoshop creates a new layer visible in the layer palette. Just start typing the required text. The type text also appears as the default name on the layer, which can be updated by double clicking on the layer. Let's see how to do this in Photoshop. In the toolbar on the left edge of the screen, we see the text tool with the letter T. We can select this by either pressing the toolbar or by pressing the shortcut key T. Once we click on this, the mouse pointer looks like the letter I, and once we click on our document, it gives a default text which can be updated as per our requirement. After typing the text, once we click on the move tool, this text gets completed, which can be moved anywhere in the document. And if you see, a new layer is inserted with the name similar to the text which we have added. We can always update this by double clicking on the layer and writing whatever name we want. Changing the name of the layer do not affect the text which is written on the document. The next option we have is wordwrap your text. To use wordwrap, again select the text tool with the shortcut key letter T after opening an image or blank page. Click and drag the cursor to create a text area and type in the box, and by default the wording wraps within the text area. This text area can easily be resized using the handles and the corners available. To wrap the text within a shape, simply click on the type tool in the toolbar, place the cursor inside the shape in which the text is to be added. The cursor will turn into an I-beam with a dotted circular outline around it. Click to type or paste the text within the shape as required. Let's see how to do this in Photoshop. So let's first select the text tool from the toolbar on the left side, and instead of clicking one single time on the canvas or the document, just click and drag on the document or the image on the canvas, and a text area is formed with the default text, and this text can be updated as required. So if you see, the text automatically got wrapped within the text area, and now if we click on the move tool, this text will be completed and can be adjusted anywhere in the document wherever required. Also, the new layer, the new text layer which got inserted, has the same name what is written in the text area, but this can again be updated by double clicking on the layer and writing whatever name we want for this layer. Further, let's see how to wrap text within a shape. So to wrap text within a shape, first of all we need a shape. So let's select the shape tool first, and let's select any of these shapes. I'm selecting a polygon. Once we have selected the polygon shape from the toolbar, we'll have to draw the polygon on our canvas, and so this is the polygon shape. Now to wrap text within the shape, we need to select the text tool, and instead of clicking on the open document or the empty document, we need to click within the shape, and you will see that the mouse icon also got changed. Along with the I bar, it has got a dotted circle which represents that the text would be wrapped inside the shape which is currently selected. So once we click on this within the shape, you see the text automatically got wrapped, and now whatever I will write will be wrapped within the shape. Now if we click on the move tool, we can simply move this text, which is already shaped as per our shape, anywhere within the document we want. We can also move the shape separately, as both these shape and the text are on different layers. Moving further, let's see how to manage line spacing and letter spacing of the text in Adobe Photoshop. To manage the line spacing, highlight the text to alter. Open the character palette by clicking on the toggle character palette button in the options bar. In the character palette, load of options are available. Look for the character space between lines. Default character spacing is auto, but can be customized as required. Similarly, from the character palette, the letter spacing can also be managed by clicking on the character tracking. This option is available just below the line spacing, and the default letter spacing is 0. This can also be customized in both negative and positive values. So the negative values will bring the characters closer to each other, and the positive values will make them far away from each other. Let's see all these options in Photoshop. So in Adobe Photoshop, to check the character spacing and line spacing, we first need to have some text on our canvas or on our picture. So let's first type some text. I'm clicking on the text tool, and I'm clicking on the canvas to type the text. Now you can see I've typed the text, and I'm selecting this text to apply the line spacing or character spacing. To do so, we need to ensure that the text on which we need to apply the line spacing and the character spacing is selected. And once it is selected, we need to click on this icon, which is for the toggle the character and paragraph panels. So this will actually open up the character and paragraph panels, and once I click on this, you can see on the right we have got the character and paragraph panel. Now in this, there is an option to change the font of this text. We can select any font of our choice. The second option is to select the variation of the font we have selected. So in case if a font has multiple variations, all those variations would be available. Let me just try to select a different font which has some variations. So see, I have a font with the name of Barlow, and this font has multiple variations like thin or thin italic or maybe medium, semi-bold, bold, extra bold, bold italic. So it has multiple variations for the same font, and this can be selected from this. I am selecting the regular one. Then the next option is of the font size. So right now the font size is 60. If I reduce the font size, this will be smaller. If I increase the font size, it will be bigger. Just next to the font size, we have the line spacing available. Set the leading, and using this we can increase the line spacing or decrease the line spacing. Now suppose at the font size of 72, if I set the line spacing to be 18, this font will actually collapse on each other. So we need to ensure that the line spacing should at least be equal to the font space. But yes, depending on the situation, suppose I need to make them a bit closer, I can bring them maybe 60. So this will be a bit tight, and if I put in a value higher than the actual font size, this will be quite loose. So I can even mention this manually. See, the line spacing is increased. Similarly, just below this we have the character spacing available, and this is known as set the tracking for the selected characters. Now here the default value is 0. We can reduce it as per our requirement. If I change it to -50, this will be changed to half of the 0 and will be very close, and the characters will be very close to each other. And suppose I do it -100, they will be very tightly packed. Now I can't even see the spaces between the different words of the sentence. Further also, if I wish to make it more tighter, I can make it manually by typing the required character spacing and see how close it goes. Similarly, if I select the positive values, 0 was like this, and if I select the positive values, this will increase the spacing. So depending on our requirement, we can actually increase the spacing also, and it will automatically reflect on the text. I'm again selecting the text. I'm again changing this to 0. Further, we have options of making this text as bold, italics. If you place your mouse on each and every button, it will show you what exactly is the option all about. So the next one is all caps. So right now it is in sentence case, and if I wish to make all the characters of the sentence capital, I can click on this and this will make all the characters in capital. The next one is small caps. So in this, the first character will be large in size and capital, and the rest will be in smaller capital size. This is for superscript. This is used, suppose if I mention 4th test, that is fourth test, and I wish to make this to superscript, I'll select only th in this case and I'll click on this. So this will actually change the th on superscript. Similarly, if I wish to mention something at the bottom as subscript, so I use the second option, that is subscript. And for this, suppose I write test2 and I select this 2 and change it to subscript. See, it happens like this. Next is the underline option. So suppose I want to underline the line spacing, I can select, click on this, and if I wish to underline the character spacing, I can select this and click on this. So now if I select the move tool, you can see whatever formatting we have applied is available on the screen. The last option available is for strike through. So if I click on this, all this text will be striked from in between whatever I have selected. See, even the th and this 2 also got striked through in between. So these are the character options available in Photoshop. Next we have is warptext in Adobe Photoshop. Please notice this is warptext and not wrap text. and this is entirely different from what we saw before, that was wrap text. To create the warp text and not the wrap text, click and highlight the text. Click on the warped text button on the options bar. In the dialog box, click on the drop down arrow to select the warp style. Now if you look on the right hand side the picture, there are multiple warp styles available like arc, arc lower, arc upper, arch, bulge, shell lower, shell upper, flag, wave, fish, rise, fisheye, inflate, squeeze and twist. So these are different warp styles available, and the text actually gets warped based on the style we will select. So once the style is selected, the options of bend, horizontal, vertical allows you to customize this warp style. Let's see this in Photoshop. To test the warp text, the first thing we need in Photoshop document is the text. So let's insert the text using the text tool first. So we will click on the text tool and we'll click on the document. We'll type in some text and we can place it at our desired location. We will again select the text tool and you can see that the current layer is currently selected. On the top in the options bar, we have an option to create warp text. We can click on this, and once we click on this, we get the warp text dialog box on the screen. Now in this, we have different styles available, like the first one is arc. So based on what kind of style we select, this text is automatically changed and updated. So it has various functions and various styles available. Based on our requirement, we can select the desired style. Now once the style is selected, we can even further customize it as per our requirement. So for example, the flag, which is like a wave, we can wave it based on our requirement, how much wave we want and on which direction. So suppose it is 0, this is a straight text. If I click on this, the direction of the wave is bottom to up, and if I take it to the other direction, it will from up to bottom. Similarly, we can adjust the horizontal distortion. And we can even update the positive horizontal distortion. Similarly, we have the vertical distortion. And you can see how the text is warped and changed as per the requirement. Now since we have already changed these options, so same settings are applied to the next style also. So to reset this, we can press the Alt button on the keyboard and click on the reset button. Now once we click on the Alt button, the cancel button changes to reset. And this applies to all the dialog boxes in Adobe Photoshop. So let's try to reset this to the default text. And now we'll try another style, let's say inflate. So it looks like this. And now we can update this as per our requirement. The more we increase the bend, the more it is inflated. And the more we decrease the bend, the more it is deflated to the backside. So you can see all these can be customized as per our requirement. Further, let's see how to make a text flow path in Adobe Photoshop. Making the text flow path can be called as an advanced version of warped text. Here the text is aligned along a path or line in any required shape. The tool to be used are pen tool with the letter P as a shortcut key to create the path, and we use the text tool and move the cursor over the path until it changes to the I-beam with a curved baseline. click it once and type the required text, and by default the text flows the line path. Let's see this in Photoshop. So to test the text flow path, we first need to create a path on which our text can flow. So to do this, we will first select the pen tool and we'll create the path on which the text can flow. So I have drawn a curve like this, and I'm drawing a curve another like this. And now once a curve or the line or the path is ready, we can click on the text tool, and once we go nearby to this, you can see that the I bar has a curved dotted line along with that. Now this curved dotted text line shows that the text will automatically bind along with that path, and whatever we will type, it will go along with this path which we have created. So let's test this. I'm just clicking over here, and you can see how the text flows along with this. Let's try to type in our own text with this. Now once the text is ready, we can use the move tool to move our text to any desired place, and you can see this text is totally independent of the path now. So now if you want, you can even hide the shape, or you can delete the layer. As whatever requirement you have, you can do that. Moving further with the text effects in Adobe Photoshop, let's see how to decorate text with outline and glow. Adding an outline to a text can be very effective when used correctly. To do this, use layer styles. Select the text layer from the layers palette, open the layer style dialog box, and click on Add a Layer Style button at the bottom of the layers palette. Select stroke from the drop down menu to modify the stroke options to customize as required. Now let's see how to do this in Adobe Photoshop. So as we discussed, to do this we need to have a text layer with the text on our document. So if you can see, I've already added a layer with the text, and it has a text which says how to make text outline and text glow. So after doing this, we need to select this layer, and if you look at the bottom of the layer palette, you can see an option which says FX, and there is a small drop down with this. This is Add a Layer Style. Now once we click on this, we get multiple options. So for the outline, we need to select the option which says Stroke. We click on Stroke, and this will open up a dialog box which has the option of stroke. So first of all, we need to decide the color of the outline which we need to make. So I'm going to select the outline as black so that it is properly visible. And you can see the first option is of size. So size lets you know thickness of the outline. So the more I increase the size, this will increase the thickness of the outline, you can see. So using this also you can give different effects. The second option is that where do you want the outline to stand. So right now the position is outside, which means the outline is out on the outer edge of the text. If I select this as inside, so this will actually fill up the complete text because the size is very large. So to check this, I'll have to decrease the size of the outline. Let's see. See, now you can make out that this outline is going inside the text. And the third one is in the center. So this is overlapping the edges, half on the inner side of the text and half on the outer side of the text. So depending on your requirement, you can select the position. And then this is the blending mode, as we discussed before with the layers. These are different blending modes. The next is the opacity of the outline. So if I reduce this, the outline will become transparent and the background will be visible. So this can be used at times to show the glow. If If I select the same color, so this might be looking like a glow. So these are various options which are available with the stroke. We will review the rest of the options in the next slide. Moving on to the last section of this session, that is applying styles and filters to the text. This is somewhat similar to as we did in the previous slide. We added stroke. Similarly, we have other styles and filters which can be applied on the text. The text in Photoshop can be stylized in multiple ways by applying various filters and effects. Here we have listed few popular ones for your convenience. You can mix and match these effects to create your own customized effects. So some of the popular styles are how to add an outline to the text. This we have already seen. How to make text glow. How to make firetext. How to make 3D pop-out text. How to make rustymetaltext. How to make reflection text. How to make chrometext. How to make drippingslimetext. How to make glasstext effect. And how to make chiseled text. Let's see these options in Photoshop. In Photoshop, to cover all the items we have listed on the slide, I have already added a few layers. The first one is a white background layer. The second one is the black background layer. Third is a list of all the items which we have discussed in the slide. So these are all the items which we just discussed. Now these items are written in grey so that they are visible both on black as well as white background. And I have also added the testing text. This is in blue color at the moment. So we will be doing all these options on this particular text. I have created a group of all these layers for the convenience so that we can hide all these layers at one instance. So I will create a copy of these layers as per the requirement and will work on the copy layers and will not disturb the original layers so that we can use it for the next style again. So the first one is how to add an outline to the text. So to test the outline text, I'll remove the black background and we'll do it on the white background. So I'm selecting the white background and the testing text and I'm creating a copy of this using Ctrl+J. And I'm taking this out of the group and finally I'm hiding the group. So now only two layers are visible. One is the text layer and one is the white background layer. So to add the outline, we'll select the text layer. This is exactly the same what we did in the previous slides. So we'll select the text layer. We will click on this effects button, which is to add a layer style. We will select option of stroke. And with the stroke, we will select the outline color. Let's select the color red this time for the outline. Now this is looking as pink because right now the opacity of this is 35. Once we make it 100%, it should be exactly red. Now after this, the first option is the size of outline, how thick outline we want for this text. Second is the position, whether we want the outline outside or inside or in the center. Now the center is actually the edge is taken as the center. Half of the outline goes outside the edge and half of the outline goes inside the edge. Going further is the opacity. This reduces the visibility of the outline. So the more we make it towards 100%, it's completely colored. The more we reduce it, it becomes transparent and shows the background which is white. So once it is 0, it completely goes out. So depending on our requirement, we can actually change this. And last is the fill type. Whether we want the outline to be a color, to be a gradient, whatever we want, we can accordingly change it. So right now you can see it's a black and white gradient. Now let's see the second one, how to make the text glow. Now again for this, I'll take the testing text and I will take the black background this time. I'll create a copy of this and I'm taking this out above both the groups. Now again I'll select the text layer, click on effects, and to create the glow there are two options. One is through stroke, just like we did before. In this we can reduce the opacity and we can select a solid color, let's say white. So this looks like as if it is glowing. But to give a better glow, the better option is to use drop shadow. This can be selected from here and this can also be selected from this layer style, and the last option is drop shadow. Now here we will have to select a color which is lighter. So let's say we select the white color. We'll have to increase the opacity. Now these settings are for the shadow which we are creating, and we'll use a normal shadow. See. Now this shadow can be managed from different angles, like this is the angle of the light, that from which angle you are putting up the light, from left, from right, from top, from bottom, or from particular angle. This is the distance of the shadow from the text. This is the spread, how much spreaded you want the shadow to be, and this is the size of the shadow. So if I reduce the size and increase the spread, this will somewhat look like a text glow. Anytime to edit any of the effects, you can simply double click on the effect and it will again load up the same pop-up, and using this you can edit it also. So now I'll change the text color from blue to black, and now you can see how the text is glowing. So this is the second option. Now the third one is how to make firetext. This is the most lengthy option out of these all. So to do this, we will again create a copy of the black background layer and the testing text. We will create a copy using Ctrl+J and we'll bring it out of our group. Now we'll increase the size of the testing text by pressing Ctrl+G, that is transpose, and we'll increase it to a bigger size. We will place this text in the center of the page. So to do this, we'll select both the layers, that is the testing text layer and the black background layer. We'll select the move tool, and this time we will center it using these align options in the options bar. Align it horizontal center and align it vertical center. Now we'll create a copy of this layer by pressing Ctrl+J. So now if you see, we have two text layers, and we will color the first one, that is the one which is at the bottom, as white. So we'll select the type tool and we'll change the color from the options bar to white. Now we have a blue text and a white text. Once we are done with this, we'll create a new document in Adobe Photoshop by File, New. We'll select the custom size and click on Create. This will provide us a new document. Now I'll go back to the original document and select the original text layer, which is of white color, and the black background, and move them using the move tool to the new document. Like this. Let's place it in the center. Now we'll select the text layer and apply some filter styles on this. And to apply the style, the first thing we need to do is to rasterize this text layer. Now right now this is a text, like we can select the type tool and we can edit this, but if we make this rasterize, we will not be able to edit the text part. So to rasterize this, we will right click on the text layer and we'll select rasterize type. This will convert the text layer into a rasterized layer, and now you can see there is no T icon. And now if you click on T, you will not be able to edit this, and clicking over this will actually create a new layer. See. So as of now we do not require a new layer. We'll work with the same rasterized layer. And now we'll start applying the filters on this layer. So the very first filter which we need to apply is go to the filter menu, go to stylize, and we'll click on wind. Now this wind has two options to customize. One is the method, that is wind, blast or stagger, and the second is the direction. So in the method we'll select it as wind, and in the direction we'll select it from the right. That's the first option, and click on OK. Now if you see, it has small spikes on the left edge of all the text we have on the screen. This is because the direction of the wind is from the right. We'll again repeat this step. We'll go to filter, but this time to repeat it we don't have to again go to stylize and go to wind. We simply can click on this wind, which is the first option. Whichever filter we use, this option comes on top and gets repeated once we click on this. So now you can see the spikes are more prominent. We'll again apply the same wind but in a other direction. So we'll go to filter, stylize and wind, and this time we'll not repeat it with this because we need to change the direction. So to change the direction we'll again have to apply it. We'll go to filter, stylize, wind. Again we'll select wind, but this time from the left, and click on OK. Now if you see, on the right edge also we have small spikes, and to increase them we'll again repeat this, but as I said, we can repeat it directly from this option because now we don't have to make any changes. We'll click on this and the spikes become larger. So now we have the spikes on the left and the right edge. We'll now make these spikes on the top and bottom edge, but if you look at these filter, stylize and wind option, we do not have the top and bottom direction. So to do that, we'll first have to rotate this image either 90° clockwise or 90° counterclockwise. So to do so, we'll click on image, we'll go to image rotation, and we'll select the second option which says 90° clockwise. Now you can see this text got rotated, and now if we again apply this wind from left and right direction, it will actually be the top edge and the bottom edge. So let's do this quickly. We'll go to filter, we'll go to stylize, we'll go to wind, we'll select wind, we'll select the first option of from the right and click on OK. So you can see there are small spikes on the bottom of the text, which is the direction from the right towards the left. We'll repeat it once again, and similarly we'll apply this wind from the other direction. So go to filter, stylize, wind, select the different direction, that is from the left, method will be wind, and click on OK. We will repeat it once again. Now you can see this text has these spikes or the wind from all the directions. So let's bring this image back to its original rotation. So we will again click on image, we'll go to image rotation, and this time we'll rotate it with the third option of 90° counterclockwise. So now we are back with the text. Now the next filter we need to apply is to blur these sharp spikes. So to blur these sharp spikes, we'll go to filter, we'll go to blur, and we'll select Gaussian blur. These are different methods to blur it. For this we'll select Gaussian blur, and we'll select the radius as 2. You can see the preview. You can make out the difference between the blur image and the normal image, and we can click on OK to apply this blur. Another filter we will have to apply is by going to filter, distort and ripple. This will actually add small waves to these spikes. We'll not make any changes to these settings. The amount should be 100 and the size should be medium, and we'll click on OK. Now if you see it closely, these waves actually got small swirl, a small distortion in them. Now the fire effect is somewhat complete, and the only thing which is pending is to color this image. So to color this image, we'll first convert this image into a grayscale, and to do so we will go to image, go to mode, and we'll convert this to a grayscale mode. Here we'll select the option of merge, and click on discard. So now you can see all the layers in the layer panel got merged, and now this is only a single layer which is visible. Now the next thing we'll do is to again go to image, we'll go to mode, and this time we'll select indexed color and we'll click on OK. Now the last step to color this is go to mode and go to color table and change the grayscale to black body and click on OK. Now if you look at this, this is actually looking like as if flames are coming out of this text boundary. So now we'll again select this either using the marquee tool, or if you press Ctrl A, this will select the complete document. Now since this is in a new document, we'll press Ctrl plus C to copy this, go to the original document and paste it just below the blue text. Ctrl V. So you can see this new fire effect comes just below the blue layer, blue text layer, and now we'll change the color of the blue text to black and click on OK. Here we go. This is the final output of fire effect on the text. Moving further, let's see the next style to be applied on the text, that is how to make 3D pop-out text and how to make chiseled text. So to do this, we will again create a copy of the testing text layer and the white background layer. We will press Ctrl plus J and bring them out of the group, and we'll hide the group. Now again, just to understand this, I am enlarging the text using the transpose option by Ctrl T and then stretching it. Now first of all, let us try to apply some 3D effect on this. So to do that, we'll select the text layer. We'll again click on the FX option which says add a layer style, and we'll select the first option which says bevel and emboss. Now this actually gives a 3D effect to the text or any content to which this style is applied. So over here we have different styles available. One is outer bevel, inner bevel, emboss, pillow emboss and stroke emboss. So let's see them. So the first option is outer bevel. If we select this and we increase the depth and size to customize this, you can see that there is a shadow formed below the text which gives it a 3D effect as if it is embossed from the background. Similarly, if we try the inner bevel, this will give the same 3D effect within the text boundaries. You can see the difference on the screen, and the way we adjust different customizing options like size, depth, the text will actually look different. We can soften the edges, we can hard the edges. This is the size. Similarly, third option is emboss. So there is a minor difference between all these. So the emboss, the outer bevel only initially had the outer shadow, inner bevel had the inner emboss effect, and emboss gives both the things, the outer shadow as well as the emboss effect. So this can also be further customized as per your requirement. Shadow can be reduced, the size can be increased or decreased, and softness can also be set. Below this we have the angle of light, that from which direction you want the light to fall, from left to right, from top to bottom, bottom to top or right to left. And we have different highlight modes available, which can be normal, which can be darken, which can be multiply. These are again the same options. And this is the opacity of the shadow which is forming. Further options we have available is the pillow emboss. So this actually looks like as if it is pushed inside the paper or pushed inside the background. Now just below the style, we have the technique on how the bevel and emboss should work. So the first one, which is default selected, is smooth. If we make it as chisel hard, so this is the second effect, which is chisel effect, and this can again be further customized as per requirement. and here you can see sharp edges of the text. You can increase the size, you can decrease the size. So this is giving sharp edges to the text or to any object to which you apply this. And the next one is Chiseled Soft. This is a bit softer. Here you will not get the sharp edges, but yes, it is still giving you the chisel effect. So these are the two different styles as per the list available. Now let's look at the next option, which says how to make rusty metal text. Now to check this style of rusty metal text, we will again need a copy of the white background and the testing text, which I have used in the previous styles also. So we have created a copy and have enlarged the size of the testing text so that the effect is visible. Now in this, I have also googled, or I have also searched an image which actually looks like a rust on a surface, and this image is easily available on Google. So you just need to go to Google Images and search for rust platform or rust metal. So you'll get many such images, and based on your requirement or style required, you can search and select the image, save it on your computer or laptop, and just insert it in this document or open it in Photoshop and copy paste in your document. We need to ensure that this rusty layer is above the text layer. So we have to place this layer above the text layer. I have hidden the group, and now in total we have 3 layers. The first one is the rust layer, the second is the text layer, and the third is the white background. If you look from bottom, it's white background, the text layer, and the rusty effect. Now what we will do is that we will press and hold the Alt key in Windows and Options key in Mac computer, and we'll take our mouse between the first and the second layer, or the rusty image and the text layer. Once we take the mouse between these two, you can see that the arrow got changed to a down arrow, which means the above layer will be merged with the below layer. In technical language, we call this clipping a layer into another. So once we click in the center by holding the Alt button in Windows or the Options button in Mac, it will clip the rusty image within the text which we have selected. Now if we select the rusty metal layer and try to move it using the move layer, you can see that it goes within the text, and you can always adjust it as required. And if you move it too much towards right or too much towards left, the actual color of the text will be visible. So we need to adjust this accordingly. So this is the rusty metal text. Now let's see the next topic, how to make reflection text. Now doing this is pretty easy, and we have already discussed these steps before. However, were not systemized. So let's see how to create a reflection text using the tools which we have already learned before. So for this, we will be needing a white background layer and a testing text, which I have already created. So the very first thing we'll do is we'll create a copy of the text layer. And to do so, I'll press Ctrl plus J on the Windows system and CMD plus J in case of Mac. Now on the right hand side, in the layer palette, you can see there are 2 text layers available. First is the original layer, and second one is the copy of the same layer. And on the canvas, let's see if we have the 2 layers. Yes, we do. So now, next step which I will perform is that I will rasterize the second layer, which is the copy layer. So I will right click on this layer and will select rasterize type. Now once this is done, this layer is not a text anymore, and this is a rasterized layer. Now we will press Ctrl plus T in case of Windows and CMD plus T in case of Mac to transpose the new layer. Once this is done, we will right click on this and we will click on flip vertically, so that the second layer which has been rasterized is flipped vertically, so that it looks like a shadow. Now I will try to adjust this exactly below the original layer, somewhat like this, and we will press enter. Now we will go to filter, we will select distort, and we will select ripple. We'll not make any changes. We'll keep the amount to be 100 and the size to be medium, and we'll click on OK. Now if you see, the bottom section of the text has a wavy edges on all the letters we have. Now we'll gradually reduce the opacity of the flipped layer somewhere around 40 or 45% depending on our requirement. Now you see this text somewhat looks like a reflection. Now the last step we'll perform is that we'll again press Ctrl+T, right click on the image which has been transposed, and we'll select perspective. Once this is done, we'll press the Control key and the Alt key on the keyboard, that is CMD and Option key in case of Mac, and we'll try to drag this outside the text, somewhat like this. Once this is done, we will adjust the shadow as per our requirement. Maybe a left right is required, and then we'll press enter. So this looks like a reflection text, and this is the process to create a reflection text. Going further, let's see the next option of text, that is how to make chrome text. Now to make the chrome text, we will need a black background layer and a text written on that, which we prefer in a cursive italics format. Now we'll apply the style to this text layer. We'll select the text layer, we'll go to this effects button, and we will select the first option as bevel and emboss. Now once this is selected, we'll select the style as inner bevel. We'll select the technique as smooth. Let's say the depth as 100. Direction you can choose as per your preference. Let's keep it up. Size I'm taking it as 21, and softness I'm taking it as 5. Now the very most important thing for this is the glass contour. Depending on the glass contour you have selected, it will show you different sorts of chrome text. I'll prefer using the second one. That's an inverted V. We'll select the opacity. This is the white area of the text, and we'll select the shadow. This is the black area of the text. Depending on these two settings, you can see how the text changes. So you can keep this as per your preference. And once this is set, you can click on OK. Once you have set the bevel and emboss effect, we'll right click on the layer and we'll convert this to a smart object. Once the bevel and emboss effect is done, we will right click on the text layer and we'll convert this to a smart object. Doing so will merge all the styles and effects we have added to this layer, and will rasterize this layer into a single layer, which will help us to apply further styles on this. Now further, we'll go to filter, filter gallery, and from filter gallery we'll select the option of sketch, and under sketch you'll get the option of chrome. This chrome gives you the actual effect of chrome on this text. Now based on your preference, you can select the smoothness, you can select the detailing, how much chrome effect you want and how much detailing you want, how much smooth you want. I'll keep the detail very low as 3 and the smoothness high as 8. Now the next thing we'll do is we'll again go to filter, we'll go to blur, and we'll select Gaussian blur. We'll keep this very low as maybe 0.4 or 0.5, just to blur the small lines which are visible due to the chrome effect which we have applied. So we'll click on OK. Now once this is done, we'll again convert this layer into a smart object to merge all the styles and effects we have applied. Once this is done, we'll again go to the layer style, and this time we'll select outer glow. Now in this outer glow, we'll select the blend type as normal. We'll keep the opacity somewhere around 22 to 25. We'll keep the noise as 5. We'll select the spread as 6, the size as 160, 165. We'll keep the range as 100 and the jitter as 5 to 10. This will give some outer glow to this text, and once this is done, the chrome effect on this text is complete. Moving further, let's see the next option of how to make dripping slime text. Now to make the dripping slime text, we will select the background as white, and we'll take a text layer, and this time I have taken it in slime color.
Now as the first step, I'll convert this text layer into a rasterized type to rasterize this layer. And the second is we will go to filter and we'll select liquify. The shortcut for this is Shift plus Control plus X in case of Windows and Shift plus Command plus X in case of Mac. So we'll click on this. This will open up a new dialog box, and here you can see that we have the brush tool options where we can set the brush size. Right now you can see that the brush is very small. We can increase the size of the brush and we can even decrease the size of the brush, and we can also have the pressure. We'll keep the pressure as 100 and we will manage the brush size based on our requirement. Now let's zoom this. I've used Control along with the plus sign to zoom this, and now I will press the space bar to move this on the screen as per my requirement. Now to change the brush size, we can use the opening curly braces to reduce the brush size and the closing curly braces to increase the brush size. So based on our requirement, we will change the brush size accordingly. And now let's create the drip in this text. So we'll click here and we'll drag it downward like this to create different drips. Now just remember that the drip direction is always towards the bottom, so never drag it left right. This is not a good option to do. What we'll do is we'll only drag it downward. Now how much? Now depending on the size of the drip, you can create it. Now in some drips you can also create a blob at the bottom, somewhat like this. This will give a good effect. Now you can see that for this I used a smaller brush size. Again I am increasing the brush size and I'm using the space bar to drag to the upper section of this, and I'm creating a small drip here, small drip here, and a small one, and a small one here. So you can see like this we can create drips on our complete text. Let's move to L. Now moving on to M. And finally to E. Now once we are done with this, you can always check this by reducing the zoom size, and once you are done, just click on OK and you will be back in your document. Now further, to apply some 3D or some glossy look to this, we will apply some style to the layer. We'll click on layer style and go to bevel and emboss, and using different settings, using the inner bevel, smooth, depth, you can adjust the type of style you wish to apply to this. And here we go. So this way we make this slime text. Moving on to the last text effect in Photoshop, how to make glass text effect. Now to make the glass text effect, we will require one blurry image. So I have taken the same rusty metal image, if you remember. I have just blurred that. So I need a blur image, and of course the text. So the very first step to make the glass text effect would be, we will rasterize the text layer. We will then go to the layer style and select bevel and emboss. Now in bevel and emboss, the very first thing we'll select is pillow emboss. We'll select the depth somewhere around 144. We'll select the size of this somewhere around 21. We'll keep the soften as 0. We'll change the angle somewhere around 110 or 111. We'll keep the altitude as 37. We'll uncheck the global light, which is already unchecked. We'll keep the contour as these double spikes. We'll select the highlight mode as color dodge and the opacity as 75. We'll select the shadow mode as multiply and the opacity as 0. Now the next step we'll perform would be to again apply a new style as drop shadow. In drop shadow, we'll keep the opacity as 27. We'll uncheck the global light. We will keep the angle as 115. We'll keep the distance somewhere around 18. We'll keep the spread as 0. We will keep the size somewhere around 45-46. We'll change the contour to 2 small spikes and we'll click on OK. Now once we are done with this, we'll create a duplicate layer for this by pressing Ctrl+J. So this is exactly a duplicate layer with same bevel and emboss and drop shadow effect. Now in this we'll remove the drop shadow effect. You can either uncheck the eye part or you can right click on drop shadow and you can uncheck this. And you can delete this option. Right now I will just uncheck this eye. So it will remove the drop shadow from this particular copied layer. Now we'll double click on the bevel and emboss section. The same dialog box will open up. And in this we'll change the style to inner bevel. We'll leave the technique as smooth. We'll keep the depth as 1000. We'll keep the size somewhere around 32. We'll keep the soften as 0. We'll turn off the global light and we'll change the angle to 107. We'll keep the altitude as 29. We'll change the contour to single spike and we'll change the highlight mode to screen. Once this is done, we'll click on OK. Now once we are back on the document, we'll change the fill for both the layers to 0. Change this to 0 and for the first layer also we'll change this to 0. Now the last step we'll perform is we'll apply a new style to the layer which is on top. We'll again go to FX and we'll click on stroke. We'll change the size to 6. We'll place the position to outside. We'll change the blend to luminosity, that's the last option. We'll change the opacity to 34. We'll change the fill type to gradient and we'll change the gradient to grays, and then we can select any gray which you think is most suitable as per your requirement, and we'll click on OK and again OK. This is the final text effect we are trying to make, and to just merge these two layers I'm creating a copy of these two layers again. I'm hiding the first two layers and I'm merging them to make a single layer. Merge layers. I've selected both the layers and now you can move it anywhere you want. This glass effects look good on a darker background, so let's insert a new black layer behind this. and I'm changing the opacity so that the previous layer is also a bit visible. So this actually made the background a bit darker, and now you can see this is more visible in the glass effect. Now with this we have come up to the end of this session. Now let's see the summary of lesson 4. So in this lesson we have learned working with Photoshop text. We have learned how to add a single line text, how to word wrap the text, how to manage line spacing, manage letter spacing, warp the text, make a text flow path, decorating the text with outline and glow, and applying various styles and filters to the text. So now we very well know how we can manage different sorts of text in our Photoshop and apply different filters, styles. Moving further, from the next lesson, I have divided the lesson into multiple parts. Many of my friends suggested me that the session becomes too lengthy. Many of my friends suggested me that the lesson becomes too lengthy, so I should cover it topic by topic. So I have divided the sessions further into multiple parts. So in the next session, that is lesson 5, we will learn the first part of image correction and adjustment, and in that we'll learn to adjust the black and white levels. We'll learn how to remove the color tints, and we'll also adjust the tone and contrast of an image.
Thank you for joining the complete session. Hope you liked the content. Please share and subscribe our channel so that your friends also get benefited with the information, acquire free knowledge and learn new things. We are eagerly looking forward to your support. Thanks, take care and stay safe. Hope to see you in the next session.